You guys will never believe what I'm about to tell you. It's over 40 degrees, it's not raining, and it's not snowing, and we actually have a little bit of sunlight coming out today. It currently says that it is 41 outside and it is going to be snowing later this week, but I'm wearing shorts and I'm pretty comfortable, so I can finally make the video I've wanted to make for a while now and take the BMW out for a little drive and explain to you why, if you're looking to get a German car or into German cars, why a BMW Z3 is like the perfect introduction to a reliable and just very solid platform. But before we can take this car out, I have parked myself in this time, and I wasn't expecting to drive the BMW. That's why anytime I drive the Lexus, it is parked behind the BMW and not the Mustang. I should have a video on this car going out in a couple days as well. A couple mods coming to it, something I've wanted to do for a while if the weather stays like this. But let's get a cold start up on the BMW. So I'm gonna let the car warm up a little bit and get a little bit of heat into the engine before we take it out. For the people who are new here, this is my 2000 BMW M Roadster, and if you guys haven't watched the videos on it in the past, I suggest you go and do so. And basically what I'm going to be doing in today's video is taking it out for a little drive and tell you guys why the Z3 is such a great car. It's pretty affordable, reliable. I don't know, BMWs get a really bad name for themselves, but the BMW Z3 is like the reliable BMW, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. For the people who own one, feel free to share your experiences in the comment section down below. My car is based off the Z3, even though this is the Z3M, so basically it's wider, more power, and has more things that the E36 M3 did than the actual Z3. They're pretty different cars, but the whole generation is pretty solid, and I'm going to be comparing. Alright, we got a little bit of heat in the engine, but yes, you guys read the title correct. A reliable BMW. Anytime you hear BMW and reliability in the same sentence, it's usually trying to trash these cars on how unreliable they are. But is there such thing as a reliable BMW? Well, let me tell you guys the experience I've had with this car. Alright, so here we are. Place where no one is going to bother us. This is my 2000 BMW M Roadster. If you guys never have watched a video on this car, I have quite a few of them on my channel. I've had some about the experience, how much money I've spent, and all of those types of things. So this car is powered by a inline 6 motor. For the most part, these cars have very, very few issues. They have a couple things that go wrong with the motors, but for the most part, as long as they do preventative maintenance and just keep up with the cars, they're going to be pretty rock solid, reliable. And the lower tiers of the Z3, in fact, are going to be even more reliable than this one is going to be. More power means it's going to have a couple more issues come in. I say the only real main thing and main problem you're going to have in this car is the rear subframe. They like to break, and it's a very known failure in the E36 generation. But this car has been absolutely fantastic for me. I've owned this car for 2.5 years at this point. I've only had to do a couple of things because of the mileage. It's 85,000 miles. I had to do oil changes, obviously. And I'm going to have to do tires soon, but I also did a clutch, a slave cylinder. But ever since I did those things, the car has been awesome. Also, some of the electricals went out in this car, so what ended up happening is the trunk being open and closed so much, there's actually a little wire here. If I pop this open for you, so the wires in this actually ended up breaking, basically all of them, so I was losing power to my rear taillights, and also the fuse was repeatedly blowing because obviously there's bare wires. Other than those things, this car has been awesome. If you guys are looking to get a Roadster or even an entry-level, German sports car for an affordable price, the Z3 is under $10,000 and the M Roadsters are under $20,000 for good examples of both cars. I believe these cars are going to appreciate like crazy because they are a dime a dozen. Like, honestly, there's not many of them out there. You don't see them every day. You have a very high chance of a car that's going to hold some serious value for the future. That's been my experience with this car. None of the BMW horror stories, none of the motors blowing up, nothing like the transmission going out. The car starts up, drives basically every single time. The car has never not started for me other than one time because I left it unplugged from the trickle charger too long during the winter when we first brought it out, if you guys do remember that. But other than that, in the last 2.5 years, this car has been awesome for me. But I do forget how many exact miles were on this car when I bought it. Given I do live in Wisconsin and only about 4 of the months are months I can actually drive this car in, so 1,000 a month or something like that, maybe 500 miles a month. And if it rains one day, it's not a car I'm gonna be driving all the time. It's a weekend thing, something to have a little bit of fun with. And 85,000 miles for a car is very low, especially being 20 years old. The reason for that is these are roadsters, and for the most part, the people who bought them had them as weekend cars and did not drive them very often. It's kind of like the same thing with the Miatas. Miatas were a very cheap car during the time. You know, $2,000 could get you a very nice Miata, and $5,000 could get you a factory showroom spec car, because middle-aged men who bought these cars bought them and then parked them like Corvettes and then never decided to use them. Miatas were just cheap enough for teenagers to get their hands on, or someone who was looking to have fun and just drive a car to get their hands on. These cars were a little always out of reach. Even the Miatas now are like pretty expensive cars compared to what they were, but these have always been a little bit more expensive. And on top of that, I feel like the BMW name, in terms of like reliability factor and those things, kind of pushed these cars to not be bought that much, to be abused. But I would argue that the BMW Z3, the normal Z3, is one of the most reliable BMWs that has ever been made. If you bought a nice example of a Z3, I don't think that you would have any problems if it's a lower mileage one, and you can get a lower mileage car for pretty cheap. So that is my experience. Those are my thoughts. I'm gonna put the top up and actually roll the windows down because it is a little cold. Anyone who owns a Z3, feel free to share your experience in the comment section down below with your car, because I know there's a ton of people who absolutely just love driving these cars. They're pretty affordable. They do cost a little bit more than, let's say, a Miata or something like that. Now even the S2000s are more expensive than these cars, so it fits into that under $10,000 budget weekend car. And you're getting a car with German engineering that's reliable and at a cheap price point. It almost seems too good to be true, but honestly, that's what the Z3 is. This car has some more problems that do occur than a Z3 because this car has nearly 300 horsepower. I roll the top up most of the time because it's 40 degrees. I mean, I can wear shorts, but as soon as you're going 25, 30 miles per hour, even 55 miles per hour on the county roads, it gets a little chilly. But this has been my experience with this car. It's a reliable BMW. I think I can say that with a little bit of confidence. Everyone's experiences that I've heard with this car has always been positive. You always hear these nightmare BMW stories, but never really anything about the Z3s unless it's a car that's been super like beat upon and just, you know, abused. But I know there's a lot of hype over these older BMWs right now. They're appreciating like crazy. All the money you spend maintaining the car's most likely going to appreciate. In my case, the car is appreciated more than the $1,000 or so that I've put into maintenance in the car. Well more than the couple thousand I've put into it, because the clutch is a little more expensive. Parts are a little bit more pricey on these cars, but at the end of the day, they provide a really good driving experience. And on top of just the driving experience, they hold some significant value if you do pick up an older one. Especially around this time period, I think the E36 M3 is the next car to super appreciate like crazy. I really would like to pick up an E36 M3, but until then, I have an M Roadster, which is basically an E36 but smaller, lighter, and in convertible form. This car is also known as the Clown Shoe because it comes in a coupe form that looks a little bit like the Clown Shoe. A lot of people probably know what that car is. This is the Roadster form of that car. That's the M Coupe. This is the M Roadster. And I mean, how can you just not like the way this car looks? I mean, with the top up, it's a little controversial. I'm not the biggest fan of soft tops, but with the top down, all the curves of this car and just the way it looks with the wheels, I think BMW knocked it out of the park with this thing. Honestly, they're pretty cool cars, especially the Roadster, even the coupes. They're a little bit weird, quirky. These cars are before technology. They're before the emission laws. They're before all of that. You know, in the 90s, they did have the emission laws, but compared to now, this car is, you know, night and day between the cars they make. Like between the Mustang and this car, it's crazy how much tech is in that car and how raw this car is compared to that one. And that's why people buy them, for the raw experience, the raw driving experience of the cars from these generations. That's the reason why they're becoming so expensive and sought after, and honestly, why I love this car so much. I hope you have enjoyed this video. You guys have been killing it with support recently. We're getting closer and closer to our 100,000 subscriber goal. If you're not subscribed and you're watching this video, do me a huge favor and go down and hit the subscribe button so you can stay tuned to all the new videos I make. Videos with the Lexus, the Mustang, and more BMW videos on the way as well. That is all I have for this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.